Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Oh man, there's so much to talk about. The FSU shooter has been identified as the son of a sheriff's deputy. We will talk about that. I'll give you my thoughts on that momentarily. There are things that I wanted to get to today before this shooting happened, and obviously, I have my opinions on how we handle and how we stop things like this. Perhaps we'll get John Lott on, or someone from the Gun Owners of America, or Walters, man, Mark Walters on to talk about this of Armed American Radio later on. But obviously, that's a big story. But we'll get to that momentarily. I do want to talk about Trump's tariffs and how I do believe that Trump's tariffs are going to help the United States of America, but not necessarily the Republican Party. So I do want to get into that. Obviously, you have Maloney that visited the White House today. We'll get into that as well. More on this wife beater, this MS-13 gang member that the Democrats are going all in on. And I told you guys the other day that I believe the reason why the Democrats are going all in on that, or all in on this guy, is because they see this guy as one of their constituents. And perhaps what they want to do is they want to portray to the Latino population that they've lost badly. They lost badly to Trump. And quite frankly, they had been losing for quite some time, even under Barack Obama. You guys might remember that slowly Barack Obama, not as many, but started losing some blacks, started losing some Latinos, and definitely lost the working class. It was the goal of the Democrat Party under Barack Obama's administration to basically they didn't want to rely on the white vote anymore, the white middle class vote. These are the people that Trump was able to win. These are the people that Trump is fighting for the most right now, or at least that's his goal. He's fundamentally transforming the economy. That's his goal with these tariffs. And so again, we will get into those because Republicans need to do their job. Otherwise, it's not going to help the United States of America as much. It's not going to help Trump. Certainly not going to help us. So I do want to get into that as well. But we'll get into this MS-13. I'm convinced that this guy is a MS-13 gang member. And frankly, if he isn't, I don't care. I want him gone. But nonetheless, there's more evidence. And I'm sure you guys have heard some of it. So we will dive into that. Also, again, the Democrat Party wants to be a more progressive party. And then there's a story out on that I'll speak to you about momentarily. And I think this explains exactly what's happening within the Democrat Party. We're sitting back and we're looking at these people, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you've got Patty Moran, the mother of Rachel Moran, and again, we went through the entire video. Her speech yesterday. We have clips of it today that I'll show you momentarily. But you sit back and you're like, these people haven't learned their lessons, and I've been saying for quite some time, I don't think it's about learning lessons. This is who these people are. I mean, they're leftists. They worship big government, and they don't know what else to do because intuitively government is part of them. So I want to talk about that. Also, Texas passes school choice. Now, this is a big deal. And actually, let me start with this because I think this is a huge deal. Texas passes school choice. And the reason why this is a big deal is because you can look at everything that's happening at Harvard. You can look at all the things that we've seen transpire at Columbia, Harvard, all of these schools. The anti-Semitism that has been on full display. And again, you have a lot of leftists that are saying, "Wait a minute," libertarians as well, and some conservatives like, "Whoa, or Republicans. I'm not so sure Trump is doing the right thing with these universities because there's an infringement on free speech." No, you're free to say whatever you want, but there's consequences, especially when a lot of what you do is incumbent upon government funds that you're getting. You don't have a right to harass and beat people, keep people out of school when we're paying part of your bill. So, this is insane. So this is why I like what Texas is doing, and this has been a long time coming. It's crazy to me that more red states don't do this. Pass school choice. It's crucial. I used to hear people say all the time that school choice is the civil rights issue of our day, and I wasn't so sure that I agreed with that. And frankly, I'm not 100% sure now, but I do think it's a civil rights issue of our day. And perhaps they're right. Perhaps I'll get to that point. I just have to think through that more. But it's huge. I can tell you from family members of my own that had the opportunity to go from a failing school to a charter school in the Central Florida area, and for one of my family members, it made all the difference in the world because this person was smart, had a brain on their head, but just wasn't challenged. And once this person was challenged, then they rose to the occasion. And school choice is good for a number of reasons. For one, I think this will fight back against this left wing chaos that we see running wild inside of the United States. But also, the money follows the kids. You've got a lot of left wingers out there that are saying, wait a minute. If there's school choice, basically, these are teachers' unions that want to hold on to their positions, that want to hold on to their money and to their influence and to their power. And that's what they're going to lose. So no, if you take kids out of school with their school choice, then that means that money isn't going to go to the school. No, the money follows the kid. You guys understand that for every head that goes to a particular school, the funding follows that kid if they're in the public school. So why shouldn't they be able to leave that school if there's a better school that they can attend, even if it's a public school? Why shouldn't the money follow them? That only makes sense. And then what you do is you increase competition. There's more parental control. I remember back in the day, going to my elementary school. I remember back in the day where literally my principal, my vice principal as well, they had a relationship with the students and they had a relationship with the students' parents. My parents being one of the one of those sets of parents. And I can remember there were times where literally teachers or parents, hey, you want me to call your mother? You want me to call your dad? It's like, oh, no, you know? Or are you going to go to the principal's office? Now, back in my day, the principal was allowed to paddle. Gabe, were they allowed to paddle? I know you're a young buck. Were they allowed to paddle back in your day? So they were allowed to paddle students. And the principal, Dr. Logan, literally had holes in the paddle. So if he spanked you, it would suck up some of your buns and you would feel it. You would feel it even more so. But nonetheless, I say that because there was a working relationship between parents and students that was, I feel like, was the norm, even in probably not the best of areas in the United States of America. And that has changed. And so Texas doing this, I think, is a huge deal, a huge, huge, huge deal. I think a lot of kids are going to be able to thrive as a result of that. But not only that, there's competition. And when I say competition, even amongst teachers, there are great, listen, guys, we know there's great teachers out there that may be bullied by these teachers unions or sucked into some of this nonsense some way, shape, or form, but they just want to teach your kids. They want to be able to do a good job. As long as they have the proper resources, as long as they have the proper curriculum, these people will work hard to make sure that your kids are getting smarter. And I think the competition helps. I think there will be some people in public schools that will say we need to be able to compete with this school and this school and this school, and there will be some schools where they won't want to because they felt so entitled, they felt so superior, and those schools might shut down, and that's a good thing too. But this is so much better because now these people that have the choice to move to a school, there's going to be more parent involvement. There's going to be teachers that are going to be psyched up to be able to teach your kids something worthwhile that they can take with them for the rest of their lives besides wokeism. This is a good thing. And this is fighting back against the radical left. Look at what we're seeing on these college campuses. And frankly, it's not just the anti Semitism. I mean, the complete DEI, the wokeness, the lowering of standards, that's not what education is about. I remember one time somebody told me, and it was a friend of mine, and this person, a good friend, I love this person. They love me. No big deal. But at one point in time, I remember this person told me when I was really, I was writing articles at the time for Town Hall. in different outlets. I hope to get back to that, but nonetheless, I was at the time, and this person told me, uh, uh, this person grew up in the hood. I mean, straight up in the hood, and just said, "Listen, man, I kind of see what you're saying, but I think you need to speak a little differently. You need to speak where we can understand this stuff a little better." And I thought to myself, I really felt bad, and I was like, "Yeah, you know what? This person is right." I at the time I felt convicted, but I think it was a fake or false conviction because later it hit me like, no, no, I'm willing to break things down if somebody asks me, but the goal of educating anyone on any issue is to elevate their thinking. And sometimes that means using better words as well, or proper words or proper language. Guys, you're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. So much more to get to. You guys stay tuned. Hey, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. We're on Apple, we're on Google, Spotify. If you would subscribe to our YouTube account, our Rumble account, that would be huge. Rate and review us. That would make a big difference as well. We would certainly appreciate that. Also, all things social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm trying to be as active as I can, more active. As a matter of fact, on all of these outlets, I try to respond to as many of you as possible. Keep in mind, I do work another full time job besides radio, but I'm trying to make this happen. And I'm trying to. Listen. I'm so appreciative of those of you that reached out. I missed some messages. Some of these technologies, I'm just kind of getting to learn. To be honest and frank with you, and so I try to reach out as much as possible. I was having a hard time the other day with Google messaging. I don't know why, guys. I actually I do know why. I literally can tell you growing up, I just didn't mess with technology. I really didn't. We were poor, we couldn't afford some, but my friends had Nintendo and all this stuff growing up, and we couldn't afford it. I didn't even think anything of it. And now, so when anything technological, Gabe could tell you, I'm like, and and so I'm having to learn a lot of this stuff. So anyway, I do appreciate you tuning in. I do appreciate you following us. If you would, X, Instagram, and Facebook at Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find me. Why are these ads popping up? I like buying old vehicles, and right now these are popping up. All right. So anyway, all right, getting back to the program. All right, guys, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Let me just speak about what happened earlier. Florida State University. This is from the Daily Wire here, and these are the latest updates that I know of. Authorities identified the man accused of opening fire at Florida State University today as the son of Leon County, Florida Sheriff's Department deputy. This has to be heartbreaking. Apparently, the deputy is a female deputy as well. At least two people were killed, six more were wounded in the shooting that took place just before noon. Leon County Sheriff Walter A. McNeil identified the shooter, whom the Daily Wire will not mention the guy's name. A 20-year-old male student at FSU, who is the son of a sheriff's deputy, who has been with the Leon County Sheriff's Department for over 18 years. And apparently, from what I heard earlier, some earlier reporting, this 20-year-old male was, I mean, familiar. Obviously, his mother is part of the Leon County Sheriff's Department, and he was very familiar with a lot of police officers there. And so this is going to be this is obviously sad for the people that were murdered, their family members, and are injured, and continue to pray for the people that were injured. Um, but this is going to be hard too, I'd imagine, for this mother. You do the right things, and it's just like stuff like this happens. So people sometimes I believe it's just demonic. I don't know if it's people hearing voices. I don't know. I don't want to make any excuses for it, but why you would take someone's life like that, just arbitrarily, just go out and shoot people? It makes no sense. Well, Carl, we got to get rid of guns. No, this is that's such a weak argument, and there's not a lot of critical thinking behind it. because the issue is the issue of a heart of the heart. Sometimes it may be a mental issue, but oftentimes it's an issue of the heart. I think people just don't want to believe that there's evil out there. There's evil that exists. There's evil that is lurking. People that want to take us down, people that want to hurt us. We can say the same thing about this Garcia guy, this MS-13 gang member. And I believe he is a gang member. But regardless, I believe he needs to go. One of the things that was said about this deputy, who apparently is the mother. Her service to this community has been exceptional. Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons, and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene. The weapon found at the scene was not the firearm that the deputy was currently using on the force, but rather one that she had been issued previously by her department. A lot of times, and I'm quoting here from the Tallahassee Police Chief Lawrence E. Revel. A lot of times, many agencies, mine included, he says, when we transition to a new handgun, the officers are allowed to purchase the handgun they used prior. And I believe that's the case here. The 20-year-old suspect was also a quote longstanding member of the Leon County Sheriff's Office Youth Advisory Council. So he has been steeped in the Leon County Sheriff's Office family, engaged in a number of training programs that we have. So it's not a surprise to us that he had access to weapons. The shooter was neutralized immediately by FSU police, and he has been transported to a local hospital. Neither of the victims who were killed were Florida State students, and their identities have not yet been released. Interim FSU Police Chief Justin Malloy said at the press conference. FSU President Richard McCullough called the first responders absolute heroes. The call went out, and immediately they responded to the scene and immediately neutralized the suspect and prevented this from being a bigger tragedy. I have something to say about this. Florida State canceled classes and all athletic events on campus for the rest of the week. Obviously, I'm sure you guys heard President Trump address the situation from the Oval Office when he was with Prime Minister Georgiani, Georgia Maloney's. Forgive me, I just butchered her name. But let me just say this about this shooting and about guns in general. I really do believe that people just don't want to deal with the fact that there's evil. Oh, Carl, we need to get rid of guns. No, guys, there's stats out there. I can't make stats sexy, but the truth of the matter is, if we were to report how often guns are used to save lives just in the United States of America, we would literally have to report those stories every couple of seconds or every few seconds. It is literally that much. It happens that frequently. Over 2 million times a year, where either it's a police officer, it's someone with a concealed carry weapon, either pulling their firearm, brandishing their firearm, or something of that nature, where lives are saved, criminals run, criminals flee as a result of good gun use, of self defense gun use. And then you have thugs, criminals that don't care about laws, that will never care about laws, though, that don't care about. Obviously, listen, I heard someone say, and I thought this was perfect. Murder has been around forever. Murder is part of the Ten Commandments. People know that it's wrong. People know that it's immoral, but yet they commit murder anyway. Why do they do it? Because they're criminals, and it's an issue of the heart. And the reason why these stories are built up in the media is because there's a narrative behind it. There's an agenda behind it where people want to be able to take away your Second Amendment right. But this is something I believe that you have a God given right to self defense. Well, Carl, does that mean someone asked me before, did God give us guns? He gave us a brain to make guns, and we can use those guns for self defense. What isn't being said about Florida State University is that people there are sitting ducks, even in the state of Florida, because they can't carry. There's people like me that carry, and I would hope that in a time like that, though it would might be scary as all get out. I don't know. But I've been in situations where as a victim of crimes where I've been oddly calm, where I think I could handle it. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know what happens when you're in a. I've been in two violent situations in my life, and in both of those instances, I don't even know how to explain it. Time slows down, and sometimes you're able to think better than you might think. And also, sadly, when you're a victim of, I mean, when you're a victim, women have been able to share stories, women that have been brutally assaulted, raped, or what have you. I mean, detail after detail after detail, smells, everything. I mean, I was able to do that. It's weird, but what I'm tired of are these institutions that are allowing people to be sitting ducks. Frankly, if someone's going out to get a concealed weapons permit, they're following the law. They're abiding by the law. They're taking what training is necessary. They're registering their firearm. These aren't people that are going and hunting down, looking to kill people. Now, this is an odd scenario, but this cat is 20 years old. Um, this is just a crazy scenario, heartbreaking for everyone all around, and he's going to have to pay the piper. I don't know what happened. Obviously, we'll learn more. But I don't believe in disarming people, and I believe that people should be armed because we can go after case after case after case. John Lott does research, the author of More Guns, Less Crime, an economist, and just a fantastic researcher. You guys know him, but case after case after case, these shooters will go to target rich areas. Target rich areas, meaning areas or places where they know people are not going to be able to defend themselves. And sadly, on these many of these college campuses, on many school campuses, even with school resource officers, sometimes these people can be sitting ducks. And so there's a plethora of things that need to be done. I don't care. What are those metal detectors? There's doors, different doors that can be used. I do believe teachers that are trained should be armed. This fallacy that all teachers shouldn't be armed. What about police? I mean, police have to be trained with their firearms too. And frankly, I can tell you, after speaking to, to three different deputies and a sheriff in different departments right here in Central Florida, police don't train with firearms as much as you think. Some of them get away their whole entire career without having to use it. Praise God. But some of them train a lot. Some of them don't take advantage of the free bullets and time that they get at the range. That happens more often than you might think. So anyone can train with a firearm and should. Because the only way, yeah, I know this is a cliche, but it's true. But the only way to stop a bad guy, a bad person with a gun, is if a good person with a gun has the courage to step up and stop them. And I'm sorry, these schools are target rich environments. These gun free zones are a death sentence. Carl, you're making this political. No, I'm making it real. I'm making it real. Thank God a police officer was there to take this guy down. But imagine if someone before that police officer was there to take this person down. Perhaps more lives would have been spared, fewer people injured. This is the Carl Jackson Show. We'll be back with more. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion, and lies. So we covered this shooting. Man, what a sad scenario. And I feel sorry for everyone involved. It's absolutely despicable. But we've got more despicable news stories to share. And so I do want to do that momentarily. If you will give me just a minute to scroll. And meanwhile, I do as well like to talk to you about my pillow. And then I want to go into the Democrat Party, what's happening with the Democrat Party, what's happening with this gangster. Um, this stuff is baffling to me. It really is baffling to me. But before we get there, let me talk to you about my pillow. So My Pillow is excited to announce that they are extending the mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. This is your chance to grab incredible deals on some of My Pillow's most popular and newly released items. For example, You can save $40 on the new Spring My Pillow bed sheets, available in any size and any color. These luxurious sheets are designed for maximum comfort and breathability. They're perfect for a great night's sleep. Looking for a meaningful gift? You can save 30% on the brand new Mike Crosses. They're inspired by the one that Mike has worn every day for over 20 years. These beautifully crafted crosses come in both men's and women's designs. They're proudly made in the USA. You can get the six-piece bath or kitchen towel sets for just $39.98. Initial quantities are extremely limited, so please do not wait. And don't forget, the best-selling standard My Pillow is now just $17.98, plus orders over $75 shipped for free. Go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl, or call 800-858-0263. 800-858-0263 is the number to call. In. Again, I don't spell my name like the communists. Carl. All right. I want to go back to the show, and then I want to go to a couple video clips. Gabe, we're going to start with video clip number one, and I'll work my way into what's happening with the Democrat Party. There's a war going on in the Democrat Party, and I do want you to hear some of the clips. So we're going to play cut number 41, then we're going to go to cut number 42. George Clooney is out with some things that you have probably heard in the media, but I want to go ahead and opine on them. So welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, clip number 41. This is David Hogg. I hope this is a video. But this is David Hogg. He hopped in the hot seat to set the record straight. He backtracked on some things he said earlier, so I want to go ahead and play this, and I'll explain what he's backtracking on. Cut number 41, please, Gabe.
Is going to intervene in solidly Democratic districts as part of a $20 million effort to elect younger leaders and unseat their party's older lawmakers. Hogg telling The Times, people say they want change in the Democratic Party, but really they want change so long as it doesn't potentially endanger their position of power. The man in question joins me now. Okay. You made a lot of people mad today.
A few.
I've heard from a few people. As the former Senator Sanders campaign staffer in me says, yes, fight the power.
Right.
The former DNC member in me says, I don't know if this is what the DNC vice chair should be doing. What do you say to the people who are very critical of this, because you are an elected vice chair of the Democratic National Committee?
I mean, look at former vice chairs that have been involved in primaries previously as well. I'd also say when I was running for this role, I was running as I was president of Leaders We Deserve in the years prior to this, where we worked in primaries to help elect young Democrats to state legislatures and Congress. And I want to clear one thing up. This is not an issue that we're taking with age in particular. Look, there are ineffective older people and ineffective younger people across our party.
So you're not just targeting old people?
No,
because the Washington Post story said y'all are going to primary Democrats in safe blue districts, and the age, but it did say the age of members has nothing to do with their calculus, but the other stories played up the age.
Exactly, because that's the more controversial story here. We are not here. There are great.
Okay, so that's David Hogg, the vice chair of the DNC. I think he's 24 years old. You guys may remember him. Do you remember the name of that the mass shooting that occurred here in Florida, Gabe? I forgive me. I forget the name of it. What did you say? No, no, that was another one, the Pulse nightclub shooting. But it happened at a high school. Rick Scott was the governor at the time. Anyway, David Hogg went to the school where that occurred. Forgive me, I don't recall the name of it at the moment. But he went to the school. Allegedly, he was there. Parkland shooting, the Parkland shooting. Allegedly, he was there. However, there was some controversy that brewed afterwards where he may have been there, but he was nowhere in the vicinity where the shooting had occurred, and he used that shooting to elevate his political career. So that's out there in the ether. That's been one of the stories that have followed him. How accurate that is, frankly, I don't know, but I can tell you that virtually everyone that I've talked to and things that I've read, that's what people. This guy is a complete and utter opportunist. 24 years old. But this is what's happening in the Democrat Party. Now, let me share something with you that a lot of people haven't shared, because we're sitting here as Republicans and we're thinking, or as conservatives, and we're sitting here, we're thinking, how can people be so dumb? How can this party be so dumb? It makes no sense. Well, it does make sense if I take you back here. This is from, where is this from? Real Clear Polling. All right. So, entitled Polls Find Democrats Want a More Progressive Party. So we're sitting here and we're thinking, like, wow, what are these people doing? I mean, they are doubling down on stupid. They are doubling down on extremism. They are fighting this fight for this 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 MS-13 illegal alien gang member, trying to bring him back to the United States of America. These are people that didn't give a flip about the people. And man, do I got some more information on this guy. These are people that didn't give a flip about the Laken Rileys, the Jocelyn Nungareys, the Rachel Morens of the world that have been murdered at the hands of illegals, that would have been alive if the Biden administration, if the Democrat Party hadn't let these people in. This is insane. Why would they be dumb enough to double down? Oh, here's the answer. Again, hat tip Real Clear Polling. After the 2024 election losses at the House, Senate, and presidential levels, Democrats have begun a period of soul searching to determine how to move forward. One group vying for control of the party is the progressives, and that includes AOC, that includes Bernie Sanders. We've seen them out there with their rallies. All right, these are currently growing in favor with Democrats. These two are. All right, but might find difficulty gaining support from independents. Pause. I'm going to get back to this. This is why this tariffs thing is so important. I think listen, I'm a free trade guy. I believe in what Trump is doing. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because I want to see industrialization increase inside of the United States. I don't believe that all manufacturing is coming back, but I also want to see trade barriers lowered so that there can be more free trade. And I want that to happen on an equal and level playing field where possible. Some places it's not going to be possible. Some places we're going to need things from other countries, friends, and allies. I hope that we don't have. I don't want to be as dependent on China. I think this is a way for Trump to bring a lot of these people to the bargaining table. That's why we have Meloni here today. Meloni, apparently, the prime minister of Italy, is handling things for Europe. I'll talk about that momentarily. But this is why the Republicans better get on board and make sure the economy is good. They've got to cut some spending. They've got to cut some regulation. They've got to pass some permanent tax cuts because this tariffs weren't meant to exist in a vacuum. They weren't. So we could see a benefit to the United States, but ultimately hurt the United States if these tariffs, hopefully that'll bring down trade barriers, aren't coupled with tax cuts and deregulation. And frankly, we got to cut a lot of spending. Republicans aren't down to do it, especially Senate Republicans. So we got to stay on them. But getting back to this story, a poll from Survey USA addressed this question directly. The poll, which took place April 2nd through 6th, with 859 Republicans, 885 Democrats, found that among Democrats, 50%, listen to that, 50% wanted the party to be, to quote, become more progressive, while only 24% said, quote, stay the same. So 50% of Democrats, and granted, this isn't a huge poll, but it's a decent one. It's sizable. 50% want the party to become more progressive. In other words, they don't think the party was socialist enough. 18% said they want them to become more moderate. Republicans were slightly more satisfied with the state of their party, 40% saying it should be more conservative, 44% saying it should stay the same. On the Democratic side, some of the new progressives have been using the first months of Trump's presidency to advocate for their views on the public stage. It's been working. Now, I want to take you to another video clip. Not sure if this is the right one, but we'll play it anyway. This is of George Clooney, but I'll explain regardless. Let's play a video clip number 42. This is George Clooney being interviewed by CNN Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper suggests that George Clooney is brave. Later on in the interview, I'm not sure that we have this clip, he also asked George Clooney, who do you like? Who do you foresee in the future as far as leading the Democrat Party. Let's go to cut number 42, please, Gabe.
You yourself did something that a lot of people would call brave when you wrote your op-ed.
Well, I don't know if it was brave. It was a civic duty. When I saw people on my side of the street not telling the truth, I thought that was time to.
Are people still mad at you for that?
Some people, sure. People criticized me. They criticized me because of my stance against the war 20 years ago, and some people picketed my movies, and they put me on a deck of cards, and and that's I have to take that. That's fair. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with criticism for for where I stand. I defend their right to criticize me as much as I defend my right to criticize them.
This fool is as much of a joke as his hair is right there. You saw that hair, Gabe? You like that? Didn't it look like it was colored in with marker? All right. That is absolutely insane. They're calling George Clooney brave. I got another clip we'll play on the other side. They're calling George Clooney brave. Are you brave about what? Brave for what? What did he do? He didn't do anything. He waited. He knew that Joe Biden was senile, just like all of us did. Jake Tapper, you think it's brave to wait 4 years and throw your nominee under the bus? All George Clooney said was what we've been saying, or what we said for 4 years prior, and he's brave? Maybe you should be apologizing, Jake Tapper, to those of us that said, what the heck are the Democratic Party doing running this senile old man? This is dangerous. And now Jake Tapper, I believe Jake Tapper is one of the ones profiting off of one of the books. Oh, Joe Biden was senile, trying to pretend like they're credible journalists. George Clooney, I did my civic duty. No, George Clooney, your civic duty would have been to, I don't know, step in 4 years ago and say, guys, what the hell are we doing? We know this guy is senile. We need another nominee. Too late, George Clooney. We'll be back. All right, guys, you are listening to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Again, please follow me all things social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook at Carl Jackson Show. X, Instagram, and Facebook at Carl Jackson Show. Also, please subscribe to our podcast, The Carl Jackson Show. We're on YouTube, Rumble, Salem Podcast Network, wherever you go to get your podcast, The Carl Jackson Show. Okay, I want to go right back to the programming here, and I want to show you another video, and then I want to get into tariffs a little more, but I also want to get into more things that we've learned about this gangster, that MS-13 gangster that the Democrats have fallen in love with. All right, because they want to use this fool to try to regain, I guess, Latino votes. These are their constituents. They've lost a lot of the white working middle class voters to President Trump. They've lost a lot of Latino voters. They've lost a lot of black voters. So what did they know? They don't have policy. Have the Democrats shared anything about how they're going to restore the economy, how they're going to make your wallets feel better? No, all they do is complain. They've worked on destroying the economy for 4 years, from COVID lockdowns to excessive spending. The media reported nothing, nada. Did you guys know that even when it comes to Patty Morin, the mother of Rachel Morin, that heart-wrenching video that we showed you right here yesterday on the Carl Jackson Show, do you know that the mainstream outlets did not show that video to their viewers? The Democrat Party is a joke. They're not a serious party. But I'm enjoying watching the war. Here's George Clooney again. Now, keep in mind, you have David Hogg. He is a radical leftist. All right? Make no mistake about it. All right? Radical leftist. There's a war brewing within the Democrat Party that nobody wants to talk about. There's always a war brewing within the Republican Party, too. Let's be honest. But Democrats, I think this is even more intense than anything that we're seeing in the Republican Party, except for what they're trying to do to Ron DeSantis in Florida right now with a bunch of rhinos. Anyway, let's go to clip number 43. This is George Clooney. This is George Clooney. In my opinion, now he's doing what he should have done 4 years ago. He's shooting a missile across the bow to the rest of the Democrat Party. because people are looking at AOC. They're looking at Bernie Sanders. I don't know where this poll was taken. I don't know if it was calls. I don't know. I don't know. But if AOC is the nominee and people are speculating she could win, I listen. I think when you get into a debate, it won't happen. But at the same token, I'm thinking like a conservative. And you know what? Democrats, liberals are very emotional. Leftists are very emotional. So she probably could. Who knows? Cut number 43, please, Gabe.
Who do you have your eyes on?
I really, there's one person in particular I think is spectacular. There are a few. I like Andy Bashir. I like.
Oh, you're Kentucky.
I'm a Kentucky guy.
Yeah,
I like him. He's a good guy, and they're smart. And he's won in a red state. He's a Democrat. I like Gretchen. I think is very good. But who I think is levitating above that is Wes Moore. I think he is the guy that he's handled this tragedy in Baltimore beautifully. He's two tours of duty in Afghanistan, active duty. He speaks sort of beautifully. He's smart. He ran a hedge fund. He ran the Robin Hood Foundation. He's a proper leader. And Democrats, the thing is, we say Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line. Although I think Republicans have fallen in love a little bit. I like him a lot. I think he could be someone we could all join in behind. We have to find somebody rather soon.
Is Jake Tapper an opinion commentator like Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Jesse Waters that we watch in prime time? Is he trying to play the role of an honest journalist? You guys noticed something that George Clooney didn't say as well. Josh Shapiro. The governor whose mansion in Pennsylvania was set on fire by a socialist and a anti-Semite. Oh, they didn't share that with you on the news, did they? He didn't mention Josh Shapiro. I think that's odd. Even Josh Shapiro, though, I got to be honest, he's been a little disappointing because he didn't make mention after he found out the news that this guy was a socialist and anti-Semite. I guess he's trying to stay cool with the party. That was really weird reading that. I'm going to give Josh Shapiro the benefit of the doubt. I just read part of the headline and I read into an article that mentioned that. And I hope that's not the case. I hope that's not the case, Josh Shapiro. I'd like to believe there's some good-hearted, honest Democrats out there that I just disagree with. Fetterman being one of them. Even though Fetterman talks a good game, I mean, he votes left, let's be honest. But there's some core convictions that he seems to have when it comes to the state of Israel and American workers and so on, et cetera, that I think, hey, there's things you can talk to this guy about. There's things that you may be able to work on. But I just thought that was fascinating. But understand what's happening. These Democrats are reading these polls. They're seeing these polls. And we're like, what the heck is going on? And they're like, oh, we should go further left. And then you get people like George Clooney, like, ooh, I'm going to step in now. I'm going to do what I should have done 4 years ago because I'm not a hero. I didn't do my civic duty 4 years ago, even though Jake Tapper is trying to give me credit for something I don't deserve. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it now. And I'm going to say that a better option is Wes Moore. This takes me back to Gabe's homeboy, Abigail Garcia. Had tip. This from Fox. Maryland man Kilmar Abigail Garcia exposed in police records as violent repeat wife beater. Before I get to that, though, let me tell you something about the Tennessee Star, something that the Tennessee Star had written, and I may have forgotten. I read this much earlier today, so I'm going to try to recount as much as I can from the Tennessee Star. But apparently this guy was pulled over by the Tennessee State Police, and he had 7 other illegals in the car. This is Garcia. He had 7 other illegals in the car. He was driving from Texas to Maryland when he was stopped in Tennessee. He didn't have a license. All right. That's one thing. 7 other illegals in the car. That's another one of those illegals they suspect had ties to a terrorist organization. He was transporting them. Do you guys know that? The state trooper in Tennessee was awfully suspicious of what he was seeing, what he was witnessing. He called the TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, told him what was going down. It was about a 2-hour stop. And ultimately, what he was told, the state trooper, was that he needed to let them go. Now, he needed to take pictures of every single one of them, take pictures of their faces. If there was any paraphernalia or whatever in the car, take that. But he was to let them go. That coming from the FBI with a suspected freaking terrorist in the car that he was more than likely trafficking. I wondered how he was getting paid. MS-13 gang member, drugs. Oh, because you guys know there was a time where he was found too by police with drugs and cash on him, right? I wonder how much human smuggling, how much human trafficking he did for pay. And on top of that, the guy's a wife beater. Yeah, this is who the Democrat Party is fighting for. Hat tip from Fox News. Garcia, again, an accused wife beater. This is he's accused of being an MS-13 gang member, living illegally in Maryland, and he was violent towards his wife. A repeat wife beater. This, according to court records filed in Prince George's County, Maryland. So there's a written domestic violence report that was filed in court against Garcia by his wife, Jennifer Vasquez. This was in 2021, and the filing written in Vasquez's own writing, she alleges that Garcia repeatedly beat her, writing, quote, "At this point, I am afraid to be close to him. I have multiple photos, videos of how violent he can be and all the bruises he has left me," close quote. Vasquez alleged that Abigail Garcia punched and scratched her on her eye, leaving her bleeding. He also threw her laptop on the floor. She wrote that on another day, Garcia got angry again, started yelling, ripped her shirt and shorts off before grabbing her arm and leaving marks. Vasquez recalled 2 times in 2020 that Garcia hit her. In November of 2020, he hit me with his work boot, she wrote. In August 2020, he hit me in the eye, leaving a purple eye. Additionally, the DHS released court documents regarding Garcia, which cast further doubt on the Democrats' narrative that he's not a gangster. According to Prince George's County Police Department interview sheet, local by DHS, local police discovered Garcia during a murder investigation. Police found him loitering in a Home Depot parking lot with other known MS-13 gang members. I mentioned that. The police department gang unit MS-13 squad conducted an interview with Garcia and contacted a, quote, past proven and reliable source who identified him as an active member of MS-13, the Western Clique, with the rank of Chicale and the moniker of Chile. The guy's a gangster. The guy's a human trafficker. The guy's a wife beater. But unfortunately, he's also a Democrat constituent. Thank you for tuning in. Don't grow where you're doing good.